Rocktober is upon us. Also, congratulations to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on getting his bag. Also, congratulations to Quinn Priester on getting big league innings. We're going to talk about that trade, sending Priester from Boston to Milwaukee for a really large haul. We also want to circle back on Spencer Schwellenbach because that was unbelievable. We have comments from Commissioner Manfred on the RSN situation, and I've got an interesting last word as it pertains to social settings. It's the Just Baseball show for Tuesday, April 8th. I'm Jack. He's Aram. As always, we are brought to you by the fine folks at BetMGM. This is kind of jam-packed that it starts with $500 million being committed to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but how we doing? We all right?
I'm good, man. I'm glad they pulled it off. You knew it was going to be at literally the middle of the night. It seems to be when these deals tend to go down. I don't know why, but that's what happens. And it was right when I was going to bed. And there's a lot of times I got to make that decision of like, do I want to stay up and talk about this, or do I just want to talk about it in the morning? And in this case, I absolutely went to bed and figured we'll talk about it in the morning. But for Blue Jays fans, man, I'm just so happy for them. And we're going to talk more about it, but like, just so pumped for them because they've come up, the runner up so many different times here, and now you have a chance to retain your face of the franchise talent, and they do. So I'm pumped on that front. But it's just another one of those days where we wake up this morning, all right, like what are we going to talk about? And then a few things pop up right away, and all of a sudden we got a full slate of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and we'll start with Vladdy. I'm totally with you. I saw it right before I went to bed, and I was like, huh, that's cool. I guess we'll talk about it tomorrow. But the whole deal is 14 years, $500 million for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That's an average annual value of $35.7 million. There are no deferrals in this contract. So by the end of that 14-year deal, he'll have made all $500 million. It's a lot of money for a first baseman, but this is not your typical first baseman. Like Pete Alonso's not sniffing this. This is one of the best hitters in all of Major League Baseball. He's what, 26 years old right now? And he's been crushing the entirety of his career pretty much. Even the down years are an OPS in the low 700s. Like it's a safe bet to make, and it's Vladdy Jr. Toronto had to do this, and
They
this
had to.
is it's proof that bullying works. I
Yes,
think.
correct. They had to. Like, we have been pounding the table here saying like you got to keep this guy. You can't keep throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at free agents who don't want to ultimately sign there and then have your multi-hundred million dollar player walk, who your fan base is grown to love. The thing is it was always going to be an overpay because one, you have to incentivize him to not go to free agency, and I think in doing so, they said, "Hey, we're not going to defer," as you mentioned, and I think probably Vladdy in his camp, like we're all of the offers we're going to get this offseason are probably going to be with tons of deferrals. So you're getting this money up front. You can invest it. Hey, the market's down quite a bit right now. He's got some cash up front, good buying opportunity, right? But seriously, like it's one of those situations where look, people can analyze the deal and say, oh, like, on a market value or like, how is this going to age? Blah, 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 blah. The Blue Jays have all of the money in the world. They're very, very, very able to have a deal maybe 6, 7 years from now, eight, nine, maybe, where it's not the best financial situation in the world. But I still think odds are this guy's going to mash for a long time. And yeah, you're paying him till he's 40. I think you'll cross that bridge in 2039. But I think this is huge for the Blue Jays to try to kind of build some continuity. Bichette's gone. You have some of these older guys on the pitching side and just in general, and he can be the face that's ushering this new era, hopefully, of Blue Jays baseball, along with Andres Gimenez, who's now a little bit of a building block, and some of the other young guys that they hopefully will have coming up. But they needed somebody to be the focal point of that, and I think that's exactly what Vladdy now is going to be.
Yeah, and Vladdy, like we talked about the down year in 2023 for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and it was still 264 with 26 homers, 94 driven in, and a 788 OPS. So you look at this guy since 2020, and granted, he played all 60 games in 2020 as a 21-year-old and had a 791 OPS. In 21, he was the American League MVP runner-up to Shohei Ohtani. He hit 311 with a 1002 OPS. He hit 48 homers. In 22, he follows that up, All-Star, a Gold Glove, 274 with 32 homers and 97 driven in. Follows that up, his quote unquote down year, 264, 26 homers, 94 driven in. And last year, hit 323 with 44 doubles, 30 homers, and 103 driven in. It's the Pete Alonso conversation, but it's a better bat. Like Alonso,
Yeah.
is going to give you close to 30 and 100 every year. And that was the Prince Fielder approach to baseball, which is what net Fielder that mega deal. But the separator between Alonso and Prince Fielder and Vladdy is Prince was inching close to 300. Alonso's never going to get to 300. Vladdy can get there pretty much every year. Like, this is the best
Yeah.
pure hitter of them all, and he's younger. He turned 26 years old 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
Like, if any first baseman ever was going to get $500 million, it was this guy. Now, granted, like, you can open that can of worms. Oh, should anybody get $500 million? Well, Soto kind of screwed that for everybody else. And like,
Yeah.
if he got 765, Vladdy was going to have to get this.
Yeah.
I thought Vladdy was going to make 400. 500 is the nature of the situation right now.
And I mean, if let's say you don't sign Vladdy to this deal and you go into free agency this coming year, where again you've been able to get players interested, but you've not been able to quite close the deal. You'd have Pete Alonso again as a free agent, which they clearly had plenty of conversations this past offseason. Didn't seem like they were going to line up too much there.
Yeah.
Maybe Bregman opts out. I think there were conversations there. So it was another guy that you didn't land anyways. Kyle Tucker, I just don't know if that's a guy that you're going to end up landing in Toronto, but maybe, who knows? I doubt it. But you'd be putting all of your chips in like forward into there. Like, I don't really know where else you look at the free agency landscape. If they want their superstar, like, it's the guy that they already have and retaining him. And yes, there's a world where he has a lot more 2022 seasons. And if he has a bunch of his 2022 seasons, which was a 274, 339, 480 slash line, it's a 132 WRC plus and a 3.3 F4. If he's that for the entirety of the deal, that's, a little bit disappointing for sure. But you mentioned 2021 and then even getting back to it close in 2024, where I thought he was about 80 to 90% of that. I'd say 80% of it. He is an outlier in terms of how hard he hits the ball and the contact rates that you mentioned. So there's still a chance for this guy to put it all together over the next few years and recapture that 2021 form. And if he does, he's perennially one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball. It's a roll of the dice. I think it's one that they could afford financially and just situationally, and they had to do it for a lot of reasons. But, I think you're hoping here that Vladdy still remains hungry and in pursuit of that 2021 form. And I thought he was last year. Let's see what happens now as he builds back off of that. But I mean, it was a really impressive season last year. And I think that the Jays are buying that he figured something out there.
For sure. So here's what I'll say about the Toronto situation as a whole. I hope this signals that they don't bring Bichette back, and I think Bichette is going to command a price point that I don't want to be mean and say he doesn't deserve, but like Bo Bichette should not be getting a 9-figure deal, and I don't think he will be
He
getting a
won't.
9-figure deal.
No.
But like, if they move on from Bichette, that's totally fine. Blue Jays fans should be smiling today, but I look at the contractual core moving forward of
Mhm.
Vladdy, awesome. And then Andres Jimenez, Alejandro Kirk, and Anthony Santander. And I don't love that. So they need to land some of these big fish moving forward. They can't be done with Vladdy. And it's tough to tell a team, hey, congratulations on spending $500 million with no deferrals. Keep going. Like, they want
Yeah.
to take a second to just catch their breath and say, whew, that's a lot of money. Okay, give us a year to recalibrate, and then we'll, kind of assess again. This just needs to be the first domino to fall, because if it's just Vladdy, this core is not good enough to build a contender in the American League East.
Well, and I think the pitch to Vladdy had to be, hey, we've got more money to spend here. And I think they kind of showed that even without deferring it, saying we don't even need to defer it, because
Yeah.
you look at the money that they'll be opening up even at just after this season. And yeah, they have money committed to the guys that you mentioned, but a lot of deferrals in the Santander deal. And Jimenez it's long, so it's a lot of money over time, but it's 10 million this year, it's 15 million the next year, and it's 23 for 3 straight seasons after that. I mean, by the time you get to 2028, I don't think that's going to be too crazy. With Santander, it's even less year over year because of the deferrals. And then you think about some of the money that's coming off the books here. Gosman's 23 million will come off the books after 2026, but you have 22 million coming off the books this year from Bassett. You then have another big chunk of change coming off the books from Bichette, which is what, 17 million, I believe, this year. 15 million from Scherzer. Like they're going to clear up a lot of money across the board there. Chad Green's 10 and a half. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're players for several other free agents. But like we mentioned, there's not that clear cut star. I think otherwise that you think they have a great chance for. So having that star and then maybe finding several complementary players there will put them in a really good spot. Springer, even like his 24 million is going to come off the books in 2026. So any mega deal that you sign, you can kind of push it back to 2027 where it really scales up there. And, Dalton Varsho is going to be back. They have some building blocks, but this is a team that I do think is going to be really busy in free agency next year. And it's not going to be for that superstar now. It's for those maybe B grade free agents that can help fill out this roster.
And I also think that they factor into the pitching market big time this offseason. And the position player crop of free agents at the end of this season is very slim now after Vladdy just, got locked up by Toronto. But Zach Gallen's available. Framber Valdez is available, another Dominican guy that Vladdy, I'm sure, would love to play with. Dylan Cease is available. Michael King is available. If Toronto all of a sudden, say, lands Gallen and Framber's 33 years old and Gallen's 31 years old, say they sign them to both like 4-year deals, that team starts to cook with gas. Like,
Yep.
I do think that they are going to prioritize starting pitching and actually landing a couple of big fish this offseason. And then you can look on the trade market and the free agent market for those other big bats that will complement Vladdy and Santander in the lineup.
It's a great point because it is so much more pitching heavy. I mean, Imanaga is going to decline it's a mutual option.
Yeah,
Imanaga is
like
declining
you
that.
have options out there in the starting pitching market.
You have Lugo. He's going to decline his player option. Yeah. And then how about the relievers? Devin Williams, Ryan Helsley, Kirby Yates, like Rizel Iglesias, Chapman, of course, is always like there's guys in there. So like it's going to be fun to monitor what they do. I think they're going to be really, really busy.
Yep. All right, let's go to Blake Snell here, the Dodger left-hander. Snell hit the shelf a couple days ago with a shoulder issue. Blake Snell, as it stands right now, is what, 15-day injured list? But
Mhm.
Blake Snell at this point is looking like he's going to miss several weeks with that shoulder. Inflammation in his throwing shoulder. So I saw Landon Knack got to DC. Fabian Ardaya reported that Knack is going to start games, but here we are on April 7th talking about the fragility of the Dodger rotation. Who would have thunk it? Like it is just hard to fathom that I watched Glasnow struggle in the cold a little bit, struggle to command the ball in Philly, and then Snell hits the shelf, and Sasaki's had the start that he has. I understand that it looks really sexy on paper, but that Dodger rotation, it's not going to be the downfall of them. It's
No,
really good, but I mean, it is made of balsa wood, man. Like it's just that umpteenth reminder that these guys are very, very fragile, and the Dodgers have a starting pitching problem.
it's funny because it's like it's not a problem, but it's like if you're trying to stop a bullet, like do you want a concrete wall or like 40 layers of balsa wood? It's kind of that situation there where it's like it's gonna just they can continue to have the next man up, and when another guy goes down, another guy will probably be coming off the IL. Like Tony Gonsolin will probably be back from his back discomfort sooner rather than later. Clayton Kershaw from his knee or toe or whatever the heck sooner rather than later. But then somebody else could go down. They're just going to be able to continue to have this just like next man up approach that is so ridiculous. And then having the Landon Knacks of the world who are just great plug and play. But I agree. Like we said this from the start of the season, if there's one thing that's going to stop the Dodgers from being the best team of the century, it's going to be the pitching health. And I mean, that's why they built this super pen so that Roki Sasaki doesn't need to go more than 4 innings and that they can take over. Glass now starts when he's struggling with the mud and his velo is down too. It's just they're set up for it. I think they were prepared for it. But at the end of the day, I don't think that they were banking on Blake Snell injuries and things like that as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they maneuver. And I mean, this bullpen is going to be pretty taxed, and that's why we had the conversation of like why so many guys. Like, why would you add all of these arms? And it's because I think they knew there's going to be a lot of short starts and situations where guys are plugging in maybe more than you think.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And like, it is hard to kind of look at just the sheer numbers that they have in the bullpen. And like, I think a lot of people within the Dodgers organization knew that Jack Dreyer was nasty
Oh
going
yeah,
into this year and knew that Enriquez was nasty. But why do you have those guys on the outside looking in at this roster? And why do you go and grab a Snell when you have some assortment of Knack and Bobby Miller and Robleski? Well, because someone's going to go down and then you're going to need those guys regardless. That's where we're at in pitching, and I can appreciate that the Dodgers are getting ahead of it. But if a team that is relying on five and dive pretty much every single night is dealing with this many injuries, where are we at as a game as a whole? And that
that's
is what concerns me. Like the
yeah.
gold standard of roster construction is already dealing with rotation issues on April 7th.
Yep. Yep. And that's they did approach it that way where I think they're just saying, hey, we'll play the percentages. And they didn't, I think, pursue that innings eater because they said we have so many nasty arms, it'll work out. And we just need these guys healthy come playoff time. And I think they'll be super cautious with a bunch of guys. But yeah, it is there is something to be said about that as well. And the fact that this is the best roster and it also is quite fragile. So it is interesting to monitor. And Bobby Miller, by the way, walked, I think, 6 in his first AAA start, if I'm not
What's up with
mistaken.
him?
I
What's
don't
going
know.
on there?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, that comebacker had to mess him up a little bit, and then getting another one back at his head when he was making like a rehab kind of backfield appearance. I'm sure that didn't help, but yeah, 6 walks is not quite what you want to see there from him.
Well, and then in the data points as well, like what's up with him here? Even last year. So it was what? Like the fastball, while it is 100, is a very hittable 100 because of the pitch profile. Like it's what, like 15 and 15 in terms of
Yeah,
vertical and
it's
horizontal
definitely
movement.
a very straight 100, but like that works if you're locating your assortment of secondaries. It's kind of similar to the Sasaki conversation where it's like if he's locating the splitter, then that fastball is going to speed you up and vice versa. But I think there's a kind of a level of okay, Bobby Miller wasn't locating any of his secondaries last year. Like it was pretty crazy how low the strike rate was across the breaking balls and the changeup. So hitters were just kind of daring him to locate it. And when he couldn't, you're just sitting on a fastball that, yeah, it's 99, or it was down a little bit last year. It was more 98, but you're just sitting on that and you can time that up and tip your cap if he locates 3 breaking balls in a row, which he just couldn't do in any start. When he was great, and before that, he was. So I think it was just the fact that hitters were pretty much eliminating everything and just sitting fastball. And they can time it up if it doesn't have great shape, and that's what we saw.
Interesting. Okay, let's go to a guy who is absolutely dominating through his front two starts. Spencer Schwellenbach of the Atlanta Braves. And I know that you hit on him on the weekend roundup. 2 starts in, Spencer Schwellenbach, 14 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 14 strikeouts. And Schwellenbach on April 4th against the Marlins, I think that was on Friday, 8 shutout innings, 2 hits, no walks, and 10 strikeouts. He did it in 99 pitches. He was amazing. And I heard from a couple of players on the Marlins that that was a better performance than what they saw from Paul Skeens on opening
Yeah.
day. Like they said, they didn't say that there was no shot at points, but like that's what it felt like it was being insinuated by a couple of people. It's like that guy, you just tip your cap in some of those ABs because he was perfect.
There was nothing you could do in some of those at bats. It was actually crazy. Just watching the way that he was dotting. And what's crazy is he's not even, I don't think he's a finished product, right? Like 31 and 2/3 innings in college. Then in 2023, he threw 65 innings in low A and high A.
Yeah.
2024, he throws 45 innings in the minor leagues before getting called up to the big leagues, where he throws the 123 innings that we saw last year to 335. This guy's hardly pitched and has already found success at the major league level. But you imagine that this is still development time for him. So we're seeing him just get better and better and better. This guy could end up, I feel pretty confident that he's going to be one of the best pitchers in the game by the end of this season because he's just getting more time to hone in on his craft.
So Spencer Schwellenbach was the John Olerud Award winner in 2021 at the University of
Yes.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
and that award goes to the best two-way player in America. So Schwellenbach was the shortstop for the University of Nebraska, and oh, by the way, he made like 30 appearances at a sub-1 ERA out of the bullpen. And then the Braves take him, they convert him into a full-time pitcher, effectively. So his first year pitching full-time was year one in the minor leagues after he underwent Tommy John surgery and missed the entire year after he was drafted. John Olerud Award winners, by the way, Caglione last year, and in 2023 in 2022 it was Paul Skeens of the Air Force
Hmm.
Academy. So let's find things that guys have in common. Schwellenbach was a hitter, and now that he's pitching full time, he's absolutely nasty. Skeens was a two-way guy. Now that he's pitching full time, he's absolutely nasty. Bubba Chandler, two-way guy. Now that he's pitching full time, one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. Brody Hopkins is the premier pitching breakout pick in the minor leagues right now. Rays prospect was acquired in that Arozarena deal. He was a two-way guy. He's now pitching full-time. There are a lot of really good former two-way players that are scratching the surface of who they are, and I think that we are prioritizing athletes on the mound now, and that's how you get the best arms. You find athletes that understand how their body moves and that are inquisitive about their arsenal, and they're going to blend that athleticism and the chess match, and they're going to kick your ass.
Yeah. How about, I mean, the thing, they also are able to change so much more easily. Where guys, I think that were two-way players, the way that they can adjust on the mound and make, I think that the changes that they need to make to unlock more. And I look at Max Meyer, a guy that was hitting as well at Minnesota, and an incredible athlete on the mound, kind of stalled out the last couple of years trying to figure out what works best for him. And then overhauls the arsenal this year, makes some adjustments, and he looks fantastic for the Marlins. But that's another premium athlete on the mound. I think we're seeing, I 100% agree that teams are going to continue to target these guys. And especially if they don't have a ton of innings, it's a good like value find there. And I mean, the Braves are as good as any org. I think it's really underrated at how they're able to find these overlooked and underrated arms as well.
Who are some of the other? I mean, Strider was fifth round pick in 2020. Strider came out of quote unquote nowhere because he was good, not great at Clemson, and now he's one of the best arms in Major League Baseball. Schwellenbach was a shortstop in the Big Ten that turns into, and I'm with you, like he could absolutely be one of the best pitchers in baseball by year's end. Who else kind of flew under the radar? Smith Jawver, I mean, he had a 5 ERA in low A.
Yeah, I mean, Smith Shawver was a guy that I don't think was expected to immediately do the things that he was doing, and now looks like he could be. I mean, Lucas Braun's another guy that I look at that was just completely overlooked, sixth round pick in 2023. I think he's a borderline top 100 prospect. He looks really impressive. They draft this dude Garrett Bauman, who's 6'8", fourth round pick in 2023, filling up the zone as a 6'8" righty. Like that's another dude that all of a sudden looks like he can be an option for them. And then just like the 2023 again, Drew Hackenberg in the second round is another
Yeah.
guy that's going to be a depth arm for them. We're not talking superstars here, but just even finding value here and
Irons in the
there and
fire.
players that just are completely overlooked that end up being nice pieces for them. I think it's really impressive how they've been able to do that. And it's part of the reason why they're always hanging around and have a decent team on the pitching side. But, you know, right now it's been an offensive problem.
We're going to get to I don't want to say lopsided trade, but one of the more shocking trades that we've seen in a little bit. But before that, quick break. Here's that shocking trade. Quinn Priester is a Milwaukee Brewer. Quinn Priester, who was acquired by the Boston Red Sox at last year's deadline for Nick York in a 1-for-1 swap. Now, York is a fringe top 100 prospect that you believe is a top 5 prospect in the Pirates organization. York, former first rounder. Quinn Priester, former first rounder. Debuted with the Pirates, went over to Boston, put together some decent starts at the end of the year, but for the most part is thrown in Worcester. Started this year in Worcester, too. He was really good in his first start. Milwaukee's starting pitching situation is in shambles right now. I mean, everybody's obliqued up or hamstringed up. Like, that rotation is in survival mode right now. So they grab a guy who's going to factor in right now and probably, you know, for the immediate future in Quinn Priester. But the trade return, first reported by Hunter Knoll, is Yafri Rodriguez, who you have as a top 5 prospect in the Brewers system, now going to the Boston Red Sox, a comp A pick, which is 34th overall. That's about $2.5 million in slot value, and a player to be named later or cash considerations. Like I said and two more times than I was expecting to say it. And even then, Yafri Rodriguez, a top five prospect in a really good system. I was floored. I know you were more floored.
I'm astounded. Like, and I know it doesn't sound people are like, oh, well, what's the big deal? Also, before I forget, um, no, I'll get to that in a second. Actually, starting with this, I, this is a lot for the Brewers, who typically never panic. Like, do you ever really see the Brewers make a panic move? And maybe they'll
No.
make a case that it's not a panic move, but to me, it screams panic with where they're at rotationally. I, I just, I don't, because first of all, they love their draft capital. They're as creative with drafting as any team in baseball is. They love to go the over slot, under slot, sign guys away from high school in the fourth, fifth round. They get creative with it, and having more capital allows you to do that. Moving your comp A pick is pretty crazy. And then I do think part of that is because this year's draft class is actually going to be one of the weakest in a long time. And I think that might be a little bit more indicative of that. But the fact that you're tacking that on top of Joffrey, I just thought Joffrey straight up, like I could get that. But even then I'm like, oh wow, steep price to pay. Joffrey was a fringe top 100 guy as well. 18 years old. Is a guy that really stood out to me in the complex and then in the DSL, skipped the Arizona Complex League, got to low A as an 18-year-old, where he was 18 for the entirety of the season, put up a 117 WRC plus. Looks like he can stick in center field. And had a nice few games already this year in high A where he's 19 years old and already there. So I think I love the floor because there's a great chance that he's at least a fourth outfielder, but this looks like a guy that could be an everyday center fielder. And you got him plus a comp pick, plus a player to be named later for Quinn Priester, who I think is a great add in a vacuum for the Brewers who need pitching. Like if they made the move and they didn't give up what they gave up, I'd say great get. A very forward thinking Brewers organization must think that they can unlock something here. I don't think the Red Sox are. We talked about it. I love the trade for the Red Sox when they got him because I thought they could unlock something there, and I think they still think that. But
Yeah.
Dobbins leapfrogs him on the depth chart. They have some other guys there, and I think they saw an opportunity here to just. It's kind of an offer you can't refuse, and I think that's part of it. I think it was one of those conversations of, "Hey, we like Priester too, man. Like you're gonna really need to pry him away," and the Brewers are not going to trade for a rental, and not a lot of teams are going to trade a rental right now this early in the season. So it was kind of the only spot that the Brewers could do it. It's not very Brewerish for them.
It's not. I will say they get a lot of control of Quinn Priester. Like that's a guy I think who's right over a year of big league service time. So you have 5 years of control of Quinn Priester. So there's the benefit. Like they would never do this for a guy that's hitting the open market after this year. They would
No,
never do that. But they feel like they have a guy who could factor into their rotation in the long term. I would look at him in a similar light to that of Tobias Myers when they grab him, and he's probably even higher regarded than Tobias Myers was at that point.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
Myers has always had a really good four seam fastball that like it just didn't really work until he got to Milwaukee, and then it really worked. Priester's a different case where the four seam fastball is the thing that lagged behind, but it seems like the arsenal is becoming major league starter caliber, and they feel like they can have that happen over the course of 5 years, which is what would justify this return. But I'm with you. It didn't feel Brewerish, and you say it never really feels like Milwaukee hits the panic button. It almost feels like the national baseball fan hits the panic button for the Brewers often. Like when they trade Hader,
yeah,
oh, why are you
exactly.
doing that? When they trade Corbin Burns, oh, why are you doing that? They're still really good after they do that because they're the Milwaukee Brewers and they know how to operate. They've earned the benefit of the doubt, but this was a massive, massive haul for a guy that dropped to 7 or 8 on the starting pitcher depth chart for the Boston Red Sox. And I bet you this was the kind of conversation that Craig Breslow gets on the phone and says, "Show us how bad you want this. Like, show
Yeah.
us what kind of package you really think is worthy of like." Are you really panicked right now? And I think that package showed that they were pretty darn panicked.
And you had Richard Fitz leapfrog him too, and then you
Fitz
have
is legit
Giolito,
good. Like Fitz is a big league five that I hope starts every fifth day for Boston.
and you got Giolito on rehab assignment already. You've got Brian Bayo on rehab assignment. So I think they saw a path here where it's like good for Quinn Priester too, because he was just not going to get an opportunity there. They had an opportunity to just load this farm system up a little bit again too, where I mean they traded a lot of guys for Garrett Crochet, but now you add Joffrey in there and the extra draft pick. It was still already a great system now just continues to be more fortified. The Red Sox are in an enviable position, and because they just traded their eight starter for a guy that's going to slot right into their top 10, which is already a really strong top 10. And then even if it's a weaker draft, another draft pick where they can get creative here. It's a great spot to be if you're the Red Sox, and I think you got to be pumped on the Breslow move there and the way he's maneuvering things. Yeah, I don't think you can lose too much sleep over it if you're a Brewers fan, because at the end of the day, you traded a pick in a weak draft, and the way that they're able to identify and crush the IFA market, you hope that they can find another Joffrey Rodriguez, and the system is still incredibly deep. But it is interesting too. The Red Sox open a 40-man roster spot as well. So is that for one of the pitchers coming back potentially on rehab? Could that eventually be for Roman Anthony? Who knows? But that was a 40-man roster spot that wasn't going to open up because you're not going to put him through waivers. And if you needed the 40-man spot, the only way to clear that would be to trade Priester.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, you would think pitcher instead of Roman Anthony.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. But it just gives them more 40 flexibility.
It does. Gives them a lot more
which
40
helps.
flexibility. So it is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Surprising though.
Yeah. Couple more things here. I was reading on MLB Trade Rumors actually. Excerpts from the New York Times. Rob Manfred did a sit down, and he was talking about the ABS challenge system. But the thing that really jumped out to me was the RSN situation, the regional sports network, so the local telecasts of Major League Baseball. And obviously, it was big news that ESPN kind of pulled out of their deal, not kind of, pulled out of their deal at the conclusion of the 2025 season. So there will be no more Sunday Night Baseball, live baseball telecasts on ESPN.
I'll
Rob
survive.
Manfred was effectively saying to Michael Schmidt of the New York Times that we won't see like a massive change until the conclusion of the 2028 season when a lot of these national contracts are up, so Fox and TBS. But he kind of doubled down on his quote desire to get out of the business of blackouts going forward. And I thought this was a really interesting wrinkle. Manfred said, quote, I think Japan is vitally important from a business perspective. When you can say to a streaming company, I have the ability to deliver an audience of 25 million people in Japan for a game, they're interested. And that tells me, I think, all I have to know. It would make a lot of sense if there was a uniform streaming platform for Major League Baseball, blackout free, that they can distribute not just to the American baseball fan, but global baseball fans. That's the way baseball on TV is trending. It's not going to be your Tuesday game on TBS, although I love the Tuesday games on TBS. I love the Saturday games on Fox. I love Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. If they find one streaming platform that can take on every single Major League Baseball game, and they can guarantee that this streaming platform is buying every single AB for Shohei Ohtani and every single pitch for Roki Sasaki, that's the route they're going to go. And frankly, it might be the best route for Major
Yeah.
League Baseball and baseball fans in general. One-stop shopping for every big league baseball game.
Well, and you're almost doubling your audience there, right? Like you imagine the day-to-day viewership of Major League Baseball, and then how engaged fans would be in Japan, like day to day through the same streaming service. I can't imagine how much more money that would squeeze out for Major League Baseball, being able to package that all in tandem there. And then you think about, okay, there's a lot more money on the horizon potentially for them, and I'm really interested to see what that means in the imminent CBA conversation. And like it seems like it's a positive, and there's a lot of good things that can come from this. And it was just kind of a system that eventually needed to collapse to be able to start over and build this in a better way. I think it's kind of like the forest fires that they talk about, where like it's actually nature setting up the forest to actually like replant itself and live again. But like I think this was a tired system, the RSN situation that was going to collapse at some point. And now you find a way that you're able to potentially leverage the global market that is just continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, what does MLB do with all this money? How do we use that and funnel that towards more payroll parity? And I know that was other things that he talked about as well, acknowledging that the discrepancy between the Dodgers and some small market teams is not the best thing in the world for baseball. And acknowledging that it's not just a salary cap that is the only way to maybe figure this out. And more money funneling into the sport gives you more options to try to figure this thing out. So that is the good news of it all. But Yeah, I did find it really interesting to see how they're already leaning into the Japanese market, and they should.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, we saw the numbers, and Peter brought the numbers to us from the Tokyo series, and understandably so. It was absolutely amazing. You had Shota and Seiya and Otani and Yamamoto and Sasaki all over there playing, and that was exactly what they needed to capture that audience. And to your point, that is a humongous, humongous audience, and that can nearly double the viewership from what you're seeing in the States. Like, I don't know, you have a crazed fan base like that, you want to take advantage of that. And I think Major League Baseball is in a really good position to capitalize on the baseball fandom, not just in the US, but globally. And it doesn't have to just be Japan, it could be Korea too. Like
Yep.
Jung Hoo Lee, a lot of people are going to be watching San Francisco Giants games. I mean, I just think about like the Latin American countries as well. It's like the desire for
Mexico, man, like
non-blackout. Yeah, man. I mean, it's amazing. Like the global platform of baseball is as strong as it has ever been, and Major League Baseball has a chance to capitalize on that.
yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing I'm glad to see them, leaning into and not being archaic and slow and unresponsive and stuff. And that's one thing I will give credit to Manfred for. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they maneuver all of that and go about it. I know he talks about how he loves the torpedo bats too. Of course, that was
Good.
going to get brought into the conversation as well. But yeah, it's interesting. And then I think expansion potentially in 2029.
Sure.
I think that's what they're. Can we see expansion in baseball, new teams? I've said this publicly. I'll say it again. I hope we have at least picked the cities before I'm done. And then he said that's 2029 question mark. And Manfred said, yeah. So they're hoping to at least pick the cities before then. I'd imagine that they're going to do it a little bit more expeditiously than that.
Pick two. Where are they going?
Now, I think Nashville is a lock. I really do. I think
Okay.
I think Nashville, it sounds like it's such a high probability outcome there, and it makes all the sense in the world.
It
The
does.
second one, I got no freaking clue, but to me, it feels like Nashville is a slam dunk.
Salt Lake City.
I was thinking about that. Do you think they'd support the team well there?
I think so. Yeah, I think Salt Lake would support the team well. The Jazz pull exceptionally well, and this hockey team is doing really well too, apparently.
What are they called again?
The Utah Hockey Club, I think they're trying to
Okay,
decide on a name.
it's insane to me that you can roll out the team before you decide on a name.
It's whatever. You know,
But
jersey
I
sales.
think Nashville is the biggest slam dunk no brainer, and
Nashville's a
it
slam
sounds
dunk.
like that's what they want. I don't think it's a coincidence that they had the winter meetings there too
No,
before, and I have a plot of land potentially picked out. Like there's a lot of things going through there that I think they're pushing for it.
Nashville makes a lot of sense. I think Salt Lake makes a ton of sense. It's a Delta hub as well. Like that airport makes a lot of sense for them. And again, like they support the NBA and NHL teams there, so might as well just put a Major League Baseball team there as well, and the ball would absolutely fly.
Oh
Speaking
yeah.
of the ball flying, Americana is back because Rocktober is back. Chase Dolander is up. He made his big league debut on Sunday. Zach Veen is coming up as well. It's like Christmas, man. Dolander, the big league debut for him. It's a weird line because it was Colorado. 5 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs. He K'd six and walked one, but Dolander got a win. He did allow 2 homers, Tyler Soderstrom in the first inning and then Lawrence Butler in the fifth inning. But for him making his big league debut at altitude at Coors, that was excellent, man. I thought Dolander looked really sharp.
I'm glad you agree because Peter and I said the same thing. Like you got to kind of throw the line out there. And honestly, a lot of starts where you have that line at cores, you're going to win games.
Mm-hmm.
2 home runs to lefties, like that's going to happen. I loved the confidence he was pitching with, and yeah, the vert was knocked down. It's really interesting seeing the data, at altitude versus not, and it's something that he'll get more and more comfortable doing and just throwing there and learning what plays and what doesn't. But for your first career start to be there and not totally knowing how your stuff's going to be affected and to be effective enough that way and strike out a lineup that's been really solid, I thought it was really, really encouraging. And I mean, this is a guy that, yeah, the numbers may not fully be what they would be elsewhere, where he could potentially be one of the best young starters in the game, but he's somebody that can just push through the challenge of pitching at altitude. And that curveball, I think that's the pitch that he'll end up leaning on more there. That thing was nasty. Like the depth was still there with that. So he was able to still have that pitch going for him. The fastball flattened out. So he's just going to keep learning and tinkering, but it's great that he has 4 offerings. And they're gonna, he's gonna figure it out. He's a smart pitcher. But on the road, he's gonna be a problem.
Yep, big time. And the stuff looked really good. The stuff will look even better when he goes 7,000 feet lower or 5,000 feet lower. Laramie, Wyoming is 7,200 feet. I think Coors is like five something. Another guy who's going to love playing at home,
Yeah.
Zach Veen is up. First 8 games with AAA Albuquerque this year, 12 hits. He was 12 for 31. That's 387 in 8 games, four doubles, a triple, and a homer. He drove in eight. The big number for me, six punchouts and 37 plate appearances.
Yep.
Veen won what, best player in spring training for the Rockies? I didn't know that was an award
I
the
didn't know that
teams
was an
gave
award,
out,
but yes.
but
Yeah.
they gave him an award and then they optioned him to
Yeah.
AAA.
Congrats on being the best player in spring training. Go to AAA, baby.
And he was awesome in AAA, man. OPS right around 1150 in his first 8 games, and Veen gets the call. Corresponding move was optioning Jordan Beck. Welcome to the show, King. Like I'm ready.
5 for 5 in his last game before the promotion.
Come on
Uh
now.
your agenda's all the way back.
It is. We're good.
40
Casey
40
Mize shoving Veen good.
feels like 2021 all over
I
again.
know.
Uh I love what I'm seeing from him though. He's and you mentioned the strikeouts being down, but he's cutting loose. Like I think there was a point in time where he was trying too hard to cut down on the strikeouts to where now I think he's found the happy medium of letting it eat. And I think that's also helping him just swing more freely and actually end up striking out less. Hard hit rates at 50%, average, it's small sample, but still average exit velocity of 91.6 miles per hour. Like he was rarely even hitting the ball that like 95 plus last year. There was a lot of points where it was just a lot of weak contact. So seeing him spray the ball to all fields like that is going to give them a speed dynamic. It's fun to see him up there, and he should have been probably for opening day, but I'm glad that they adjusted and responded quickly. And I think he makes them better by being up there. So I'm excited to see what Veen's going to do.
One more quick thing, baseball wise. Max Kranick. Want to shout him out. Great hombre who we met at Syracuse University. Shout out Emma Hensies. But Max Kranick in the Mets bullpen. 7 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, and 3 strikeouts. The thing that jumps out to me, one base runner in 7 innings so far, right? He's faced what, 22 hitters? 71 pitches in 7 innings. It feels like he comes on, he gets 5 outs in
In
15
2 seconds.
pitches.
It's crazy. I noticed that in the outing against the Marlins too, where it's just like 5 pitches done. It's I think there's this balance of like you think you can get to his stuff, and then it just jumps a little bit more than you think late, and guys just aren't quite getting to it. So much weak contact. He's getting good vert, but it's like this kind of cut ride action because he only gets 2 inches of horizontal. So that vert is really playing up. He gets above average extension. Like this is a guy that was clearly in the lab and just
Yeah,
once he got back from injury, how can I maximize my stuff? And I think it was underrated how well he was throwing before the injury too. He
of
took a
course.
no hit bid, what, into the sixth with the Pirates?
His MLB debut was 5 perfect, I think.
Yeah, like come on. But now seeing him in shorter spurts where that fastball is now 94 with good characteristics, so it's playing closer to plus, and then he's got this feel for a slider, a curveball. The slider's hard at 89. Like there's clear and a sweeper even that he really mixes in. So like there was clearly this focus, I think, on how can I optimize my arsenal with this time off. And
Yeah.
he comes back just looking like a much more complete pitcher. This is a real reliever here. Like this is a good setup man, I think, for a long time. And I think the fact that he can go multi-inning too, he's kind of got that Justin Slayton to him where I think he's going to be really valuable for them.
I like that shout. Kranick, I mean, just looking at the game logs, man, like he got 2 outs in his first appearance with the Mets in 5 pitches, 4 for strikes. And then you mentioned that Miami outing, 3 innings, perfect. 22 pitches, 17 for strikes in 3 innings. And then last time out against Toronto on Sunday, 14 pitches, 10 for strikes, 4 up, 4 down with the strikeout. Like,
Yeah.
he's not wasting any time. He's not
Nope.
wasting bullets. And a guy coming off of Tommy John surgery, he's not in the business of wasting bullets.
We're going to get threads in the next like year or two of why Max Kranick should go back to the rotation. And I don't hate it with the Arsenal,
I
but
don't
right
hate it
now,
either, but just
no,
like
but
be Edwin Diaz's setup guy for a little
yeah,
bit, okay? Like the Mets have been clamoring for a good setup guy.
no, and they've got it, which is great. And before we wrap up too, I wanted to talk Jurrangelo Cjintje just because
Oh,
what
he
he did
looked
is so
great.
unprecedented. And we'll talk more about it on the call up, but like I wanted to just talk about that. Also, as I'm extending this episode a little bit longer, I do want to acknowledge that I made the weekend roundup way longer than it should have.
Mm,
I forgot that we don't do every score. So if you labored through that, maybe it was still exciting for you. I don't know. If it was too long, I'm sorry. We'll get back to to the lab on my end. We will make it more efficient, and I will not be citing every score next
got you.
time. That was
Cool.
on me. That was on me. I was shaking off the rust. But so Jurrangelo Cjintje's outing, and this was the first round pick by the Mariners. And
Yeah.
if you're not familiar, got a lot of notoriety because he can throw with both arms. But Jack, circling back to our previous conversation, also was a switch hitter. Didn't really focus that much on pitching till he got to college, and they said, "Hey, I think you should really, really focus on this. You could be really special, not just because you throw with both arms, but because your right arm is ridiculous." And we're seeing just what's happening in real time of how he's continuing to develop. But there were some, I think, like the stadium gun was a little hot, I think, where I saw on Twitter people were saying, or on X, like, oh, Sanger hit 101. So I wanted to just clarify that he didn't hit 101, but he was throwing fuzz. He did get up to 99.7. So it's not like I'm pouring fully cold water on this.
Yeah.
What's interesting is he threw with both arms in this one. And I'd kind of been a proponent of like, I just focus on the right, and because the right is so good. But he made it work, and we'll see how it works at the upper levels. But I just wanted to highlight the stuff left versus right arm. With the right arm, he threw 37 fastballs that averaged 97.8 miles per hour, but he's also getting 17 inches of vert from a 5.6 release height. So he's getting above average carry on that too. That's comfortably a plus heater. That's trending closer to plus plus if he's holding that deeper into starts. Then the slider was really good for him, like looked nasty and really sharp. And then he mixed in a changeup. Then with the left arm, it was softer, but he was still throwing 93.5 with the left arm. So, I mean, it's justifiable. Like you can still say, okay, that's worth it. He threw 10 fastballs that averaged 93.5, topped at 94.5 or almost 95 miles an hour. I don't love the shape of his left-handed fastball nearly as much, but he's got a pretty good slider from that left arm as well. So if it's a left on left matchup where like it's a situation where the guy just really does not hit lefties well, then maybe it's worth it. But I do still think there's this disparity here where his right arm is so much more ridiculous. It's crazy that he can do this,
Yeah.
but it is just a really fascinating conversation of like, what's the tipping point? I have a potentially plus plus heater with my right arm, but I could go left on left here with a maybe average heater and a slider that is going to be above average. Is it better to have plus and plus with your right arm or average and above average with your left arm against a lefty?
We
Really fascinating conversation I never thought we'd have.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit after the draft, though. We said like, in what world do you flip over to the left side? And we brought up the Kerry Carpenter thing, where it's like, okay,
Yeah,
you've got a guy that is clearly deficient on one side. He's an everyday player, and they don't want to take him out of the lineup, but he can flip over to the left side if he gets somebody that just. It's almost like Albies, although Albies is the reverse, right? Like
yeah,
Albies hammers left-handed pitching as a right-handed hitter. But if it was totally different, like Senja could just switch hands and like attack the worst platoon. So I think you probably save the left side for, let's call it, 15 pitches in a given start. And you may identify one guy that just sucks against
yeah.
left-handed pitching. You attack him there, but the other eight, you rely on your plus plus stuff.
Which is just outrageous. Like
It's
it's just such a
amazing.
unique, and it'll draw so many fun analytical conversations if he continues to do this at the upper levels and so on. But this is a really special talent, even just with the right arm, and it's a really cool thing to monitor. And I mean, baseball, like it's just in such a cool spot where I had people that just aren't even big baseball fans, not even baseball fans, period, that saw the clips from spring breakout, which again is one of the best ideas MLB's had,
For sure.
saying, "Oh, like that kid that was throwing with both arms."
He's
I'm like, "Yeah,
amazing.
he's not even in the major leagues yet."
Yeah.
And it's just like baseball's in such a unique talent, like space and talent right now. When you're seeing players transcend that had yet to really even make their pro debut, so it's really cool to see, and you can follow us along on the call up for a lot more on St. John and those conversations.
It was funny getting the question. It's like, well, could he start one day as a righty and then start the next day as a lefty? It's like, no, but we
If you want
can.
his oblique to rip into shreds, like sure.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That thing is going to snap like a rubber band, but I mean, just bizarre. All right, I've got one last thing here, and it's a last word, and it's just a social situation. I'm in New York, went to a bakery. The guy behind the counter is trying to wave down somebody. You know, it sounded like a French tourist or something. Like he was just like, hey, like, come on over here, I'm open. And the guy was looking the other way. I tap him on the shoulder to let him know that the guy behind the counter is like waving for him. And he looks at me and I point to the guy waving to get his attention. And this guy just walks over there. Like he doesn't acknowledge me, say thank you, anything like that. He's supposed to say thank you to me, right? For getting his attention to
You're in
get
New
served.
York. You're
Yeah,
in New
but like
York.
it's just a French tourist. Like I don't know. I feel like that's just a common social cue where it's like, hey, thank the person that helped you get served quicker.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Welcome to New
But
York.
it was insane. I was like, do I not exist to you? I just saved you five
Oh,
minutes.
I love the ego. The ego is just that's what New York will do to you. It'll knock your ego down a little bit.
Sure. I mean, and I knew I didn't like this place very much, but okay.
No,
I
I mean,
mean,
I
it
like it
just
would be a
stunned me.
knee jerk thank you for me. But that there's a lot of if I was still in New York, I'd have a lot of social last words there that have come up. But yeah, that's kind of par for the course out there, man. Like you're
Yeah,
not getting thank yous for that stuff.
that's
Like,
just hard to fathom. Or even just like a nod, like, hey, thank.
oh,
Like,
gotcha.
I don't need a thanks. Just, okay, got it. Thank you for tapping my shoulder. It's just don't tap my shoulder. You saved me
And
5 minutes. I'm going to go walk over there.
In the New York frame of mind, you did that just so that you could get your order sooner because he was in front of you. So it's really just
I already
everybody
had
doing
my
their
order.
part.
That's the thing. I was walking out the door and I
Oh,
tapped him, like
even
trying to be
worse
a
then.
good guy. I think I'm done trying to be a good person when I come to New
You
York City.
should. Yeah, that's the whole point. You're not supposed to.
It takes too much energy.
You need to have like those horse blinders, like, and just that's what you do.
Mind my own business.
Yep.
Noted. All right. Every link you guys need is in the episode description. No show tomorrow, the Wednesday show. We will be back on Thursday to chat with you then. Be sure to tap into the call up. We got Dodgers top prospects coming this week, and we're going to check in on the first week of minor league baseball. Who's balling out? The answer is Zach Veen and Jurrangelo Cjintje. Easy. See you guys.
Yep.